Seeing this, Daisy quickly booked a DNA test, then investigated his dad's workplace, and planned a way to get close to the boy. Daisy sabotaged something at his dad's company. Soon his dad got the call. He had to leave the boy's game, and rush to deal with the problem. But just as he left, Daisy appeared. At that moment, the boy was hurt in the game. Daisy took the chance to comfort him, and took him home to treat the wound. This touched the boy deeply. Daisy asked about his childhood, but he could not remember anything before age 5. Hearing this, Daisy felt the situation was even stranger. After dinner, they talked a little. Soon the boy fell asleep. Daisy slipped into his dad's room. She picked up a photo of the boy with his parents. The boy did not look like them at all. So Daisy went into the bathroom, and secretly took the boy's toothbrush. But just then the man returned. Seeing Daisy in the house, he was angry. He rushed into his son's room. When he saw the boy asleep, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. Daisy told him about the boy's injury. After hearing that, his attitude softened a little. Daisy took the chance to say she wanted him to take the boy to a recording studio. In fact, she wanted her ex-husband to see the boy. Sure enough, the next day, father and son arrived at the studio. Even the serious father smiled at his son's passion for music. This surprised Daisy completely. She then looked toward her ex-husband. He too seemed sure of the boy's ability, but still would not admit the boy was his son.
Why can't you see that he's your son?
I know he's not my son, because my son died in a lake when he was 4.
Hearing this, Daisy stormed out, but outside she saw the man waiting for her. He said they planned to go on a trip outdoors. He wanted Daisy to join them. Daisy was a bit surprised, but to spend more time with the boy, she agreed. That night, while the father was working, the boy suddenly asked about his mother. This instantly angered the man. Frightened, the boy ran out of the room. He had always known his mother's death was not normal, so he never asked his dad. But since Daisy showed up, his longing for his mother returned. He secretly investigated Daisy, and found out her son had died when he was 4 years old. The similarity was shocking, but when he saw a photo of Daisy with her son, he was stunned. The boy in the picture looked exactly like him. The boy panicked, and started doubting his own identity. So he secretly went to find Daisy, but he did not say why. He just asked to stay the night. When he entered Daisy's son's bedroom, he was shocked. Everything in the room felt familiar, and the paintings on the wall were ones he drew as a child. Just then Daisy walked in.
I'm Tom, aren't I?
At this moment, Daisy could not hold back anymore. To prove her belief, she collected the boy's saliva for a DNA test. When the boy asked if he had been kidnapped, Daisy was stumped. These events were too strange. Even Daisy herself could not understand. The results would take 24 hours. Once the relationship was confirmed, Daisy planned to take him far away, but the boy had no passport, so he could not leave the country. Daisy took a photo of him, and asked a friend to make him temporary papers. She told him to wait in the room. Meanwhile, the man discovered his son was missing. He also found his son's internet history. Later, Daisy came home and saw only a note. The boy feared his dad would track him, so he planned to talk at school the next day. But the next day, Daisy could not find him. She searched every corner of the school, but he was gone. Just when she was about to give up, she met the boy's father outside the school. He said the boy was waiting to go on a trip with her. Daisy was doubtful, but she still got in the car. As she suspected, the man drove to a secluded place. When he got out of the car, Daisy quickly tried to call her brother for help, but the signal was too weak. Her brother could not hear her. Then the man returned. He kindly told Daisy there was no service here, and said the boy was waiting inside. But when Daisy went in, the place was empty. The rooms were unfinished. The man's face suddenly changed, so Daisy confronted him about the boy's mother, but he did not answer. Instead, he turned suspicion on Daisy.
I think I'm just going to sit back and let you take him from me.
Where is he?
You think he's the boy you lost, don't you? He snuck out of the house to come and see you.
Mark.
You've convinced him that you're his mother.
Daisy had enough of his nonsense, but when she tried to leave, she saw he had the keys, and the door was locked.
Do you honestly think I'm just going to sit back and let you take my son? There's no fucking way I'm letting you have mine.
Before he could react, Daisy drove away. She picked up the boy to escape, but at the border, the boy's papers were flagged as fake. Daisy was taken by police. Soon Daisy's brother got the news. As a lawyer, he told the family Daisy might face prison for kidnapping. Daisy's mother wondered why she took such a risk. The ex-husband finally spoke of the boy. This shocked the family. The old woman wanted to climb into the king's bed, so she made her sister use boiling glue to stick all her skin together. Then, under the cover of night, she groped her way into the king's embrace. Yet after their intimacy, under the candlelight, the king saw a withered and shriveled face. He was instantly terrified, summoned the soldiers on the spot, and threw both her and the bed off the cliff. But unexpectedly, the woman not only didn't die, but soon after, climbed back into the king's bed. And this dark tale is from the famous alternative fairy tale collection. The hungover king just woke from a sea of wine, still dazed, when he suddenly heard a beautiful melody. The enchanting voice instantly piqued the king's interest. He immediately asked the maiden's name and where she lived. Watching the maiden shyly run away, the king found it amusing, so he picked a precious pearl necklace and sent it to the maiden's home. But strangely, the maiden didn't appear, only accepting the gift with a wooden bucket. As the camera zoomed in, the king's dream maiden in his fantasy turned out to be a pair of elderly sisters. If the king knew, the sisters would surely die without a burial place. Sure enough, that very night, the king eagerly arrived. Hearing the urgent and angry knocking, the younger sister was scared and wanted to confess, but the older sister covered her mouth, cleared her throat, and pretended to be the maiden.
I'm just a poor girl. I don't deserve the honor you bestow on me.
Hearing the soft voice, the king grew even more impatient. The older sister had to promise that in a week, she would offer the most beautiful part of her body to the king.
Of your body would you grant me?
A finger, Your Majesty?
Imagining the slender finger, the king agreed at once, but the younger sister was stunned. Their hands were already wrinkled and gnarled, even covered in chilblains. Yet the older sister had a plan. She boiled a pot of collagen, coated her fingers evenly, then tightly wrapped them in cloth. All she needed was to wait 7 days, and she'd have a perfect finger. But on the 7th day, when she confidently unwrapped the cloth, her fingers were still dry and wrinkled. The older sister burst into tears. The younger sister rushed to comfort her. Yet the 7-day promise was due. The king's knocking echoed at the door, with no way out. The older sister pushed the younger sister's finger through the keyhole. To her surprise, the king couldn't get enough. It turned out the younger sister's childhood habit was sucking her fingers, which made them appear tender like a maiden's. Combined with the king's delusion, it solidified the illusion of a beautiful maiden.
Be welcomed into your bed, in the darkness of the night, without any candles, for my heart could not withstand.
Remembering the maiden's shy demeanor, the king agreed at once. The next day, with her sister's help, she glued her entire skin together. Then, under the cover of night, wrapped in a thick blanket, she entered the king's chamber. At first, the king noticed nothing wrong, but upon seeing her true appearance, he leaped from the bed in terror, and threw both her and the bed off the cliff. Yet against all odds, the woman didn't die. Instead, a passing witch saved her. Under the witch's care, her wrinkles visibly faded, transforming her into a celestial being. And just then, the king happened to be hunting in the forest, setting the stage for another perfect encounter. The girl unexpectedly discovered that her father's gravestone had a hidden keyhole. She quickly took out the key her father left her, and tentatively inserted it. As the key turned, a hidden door suddenly opened beside her. Curious, Laura hurried inside, only to find it was her father's old workshop, filled with things she couldn't understand. Just as she felt puzzled, a camera on the table caught her attention. Opening it, she found her father's recordings. Her father said he was heading to a remote island to search for the secret of immortality. At that moment, Laura finally understood. Her father had faked his disappearance 7 years ago, just to pursue a legendary myth. Determined to find him, Laura immediately flipped through his journal. From it, she learned he had gone to an island called Yamatai. Following the clues, Laura set off, accompanied by her friend Yenzu. They sailed a rundown boat, guided by her father's notes, toward the legendary Yamatai Island. At first, they didn't realize how perilous the journey would be, but as they neared their destination, Laura was jolted awake by turbulence. Stepping outside, she saw they were caught in a once-in-a-century storm, surrounded by treacherous reefs. They had to abandon ship, only by swimming ashore could they have a chance to survive. As the wooden boat was about to shatter in the raging storm, Laura leaped into the water, barely escaping with her life. She swam to shore, but before she could search for her friend, she noticed shadowy figures ahead. When Laura woke again, she found herself in a makeshift tent. Rushing outside, she was stunned to see people blasting the mountaintop, as if searching for something. Before she could make sense of it, an armed man shoved her into the crowd, forcing her to join the labor. There, she spotted Yenzu, relieved to see him unharmed. Yenzu explained, the laborers were shipwrecked fishermen. Under the coercion of a bearded man, they had to work for survival. But Laura wouldn't submit. Her only purpose here was to find her father.
Laura. Hey! Go! Go!
Seeing Yenzu risk his life for her, Laura sprinted away. The woman is cleaning the window, without noticing the wall behind her, is slowly moving toward her. Soon she is squeezed between the wall and the glass, unable to breathe. But suddenly the next second, the wall instantly returns to its original state. The woman's first thought is that she's hallucinating, but seeing the foundation left on the glass, she instantly falls into panic. To figure out what's happening, she runs out of her house to ask the neighbors if they've experienced the same thing. But as soon as she reaches the neighbor's door, she sees her closest neighbor standing on the roof for some reason. The neighbor also notices Alice below, but doesn't speak. Instead, she picks up a dagger and commits suicide in front of her. Alice is stunned by what she sees. Before she can step forward to understand, two men in red drag her aside. Faced with this bizarre scene, she quickly tells her husband after returning home, but to her surprise, her husband says, the neighbor just accidentally fell off the roof, and will be fine after a few stitches at the hospital. Alice naturally doesn't believe him, because she saw everything that happened. To uncover the truth, she decides not to alert anyone, and quietly investigates on her own. Early the next morning, her husband calls a private doctor from town, to check if his wife has any health issues. Then Alice suddenly notices, the doctor's briefcase seems to contain a file about that female neighbor. To uncover the truth, she pretends to feel unwell, and asks the doctor to prescribe some medicine. However, when the doctor leaves, he accidentally forgets the briefcase on the ground. Alice quickly opens it, and takes out the neighbor's medical file.
No opposition on it.
So glad you came back. You left us.
I'd forget my head if it wasn't screwed on.
Once the doctor is gone, Alice immediately checks the file, only to find all the crucial information inside has been erased. This nearly drives her mad on the spot, but she doesn't give up. To test her theory, that evening, she invites the neighbors over, including her husband's boss. During dinner, in front of everyone, Alice voices her suspicions. She believes they are all controlled by the boss, who provides free housing, but forbids them from leaving town. There must be some hidden secret. She also witnessed the neighbor's suicide, yet everyone insists it was just a fall. The truth must have been deliberately concealed. Although Alice speaks from first-hand experience, everyone at the table is content with their current lives. They don't want the boss to think they share her views. So the dinner ends awkwardly and abruptly. After everyone leaves, Alice begs her husband to take her away. She just wants a normal life again. Moved by her plea, her husband agrees, and drives her away from the town. But as they get in the car to leave, the men in red suddenly appear. They drag Alice out in front of her husband. Soon she is strapped to an operating table. Under the doctor's treatment, Alice regains her memories, but soon, her restored memories are erased again. Not long after, Alice is taken home by her husband. Outwardly, she seems unchanged, but unexpectedly, fragments of memory soon begin to resurface. The killer deliberately parked his car tightly next to the beauty's car, so that when the prey tried to open the door she couldn't get in smoothly. That way, he could use the excuse of helping her to pull out an umbrella-shaped stun baton and commit violence. Once the target was completely unconscious, the man tied up her hands and feet tightly, planning to find a deserted place to slowly enjoy her. When Daisy woke up she realized she was already lying inside the man's car. Daisy tried to call the police with her watch, but unfortunately there was no signal at all in this mountain area.
There is no red dot. That means no cellular, and that means no emergency SOS.
Daisy did not know why the man kidnapped her. At this moment she had only one thought, and that was to quickly think of a way to escape. Luckily she had slipped a knife into her pocket before leaving home. She carefully pulled out the knife, then seized the right moment, and forcefully cut open the zip ties. Then she suddenly stood up and lunged forward. Luckily, neither of them was seriously hurt. Then Daisy kept stabbing at him with the knife like crazy, but it did not cause any fatal threat to Jeff, and Jeff was not in a hurry. He just calmly glanced at his watch. Turns out he had already injected Daisy with a paralytic, and soon she would lose all mobility. If nothing unexpected happened, in 1 minute Daisy would start feeling discomfort. In 10 minutes she would feel numbness in her limbs and weakness. In 15 minutes her legs would be completely paralyzed. By the 20th minute, her breathing would become labored and she would be unable to speak. And finally she would lose all ability to move. After hearing this, Daisy was even more terrified. Whether Jeff was telling the truth or not, she could not think about that anymore. Her first instinct was to run, because maybe this was her only chance to survive. She could only run forward as fast as she could, but something terrifying still happened. Before long, her fingers began to go numb. Jeff with a limp was slowly closing in. Daisy sped up again, but there was not much time left for her. If she wanted to survive, she had to run out of the forest within 20 minutes, and contact the outside world for help. As every second passed, one of Daisy's legs was already completely numb, and Jeff was getting closer and closer. She could only hide under a tree hollow to avoid being being tracked. But then another horrifying thing happened. Thousands of ants crawled out, and they began frantically biting her wounds. Daisy was in unbearable pain. Finally, she could not hold it back and screamed. Daisy did not give up. Instead, she dragged her heavy body and slowly rolled into the river. Jeff could only watch helplessly as his prey disappeared. Daisy kept drifting downstream. She held her breath and floated on the surface. After an unknown amount of time, she was lucky enough to be washed ashore. But unfortunately, she had less than 2 minutes left. Her breathing was already extremely difficult. When the 20-minute countdown ended, Daisy completely lost all movement. Fortunately, Jeff did not catch up. Instead, an old man with a white beard appeared. Seeing this, the old man quickly stepped forward to check on her. But after a long time there was no response. When the old man turned Daisy over, he discovered something strange. The woman noticed something strange on her way to work. Her son, who had been dead for 10 years, appeared on the roadside. The woman was shocked in disbelief. How could there be someone who looked so alike in this world? To take a closer look, she honked the horn on purpose to get his attention. But the moment the curly-haired boy looked over, the woman froze on the spot. His expression was exactly like her son. Daisy quickly pulled over, then hurried onto the school bus the curly-haired boy was riding. She found a corner seat and began secretly watching the boy. She never expected even the scars were identical to her son's. All of this was beyond belief. Soon Daisy got off the bus and followed the boy to school, and with a mother's instinct, she knew this boy was her son. Thinking this, she rushed to her ex-husband's house. Ignoring her sister's attempt to stop her, she directly told her ex-husband about seeing the curly-haired boy. Although Daisy was not completely sure, she still firmly believed this was her son. Facing her ex-husband's skeptical look, Daisy added that even the scar was the same. Even though she spoke with certainty, her ex-husband still would not listen. He said although the son's body was never found. At this point, Daisy had to face the truth. Hearing this, Daisy helplessly walked out the door, but she did not give up. Instead, she went to the police for help, saying someone kidnapped her son. But after listening, the police pulled out old records, saying even without finding the body, the evidence was enough to close the case. Seeing Daisy would not let go, the police had no choice but to agree to keep investigating. But Daisy knew they were just brushing her off. She realized she had to rely on herself, so she planned to uncover the truth on her own. Soon Daisy went to the boys' school to keep watch. When the boy walked out after class, Daisy rushed forward wanting to ask questions, but suddenly the boy's father came to pick him up. Daisy quickly turned away, to keep the father from noticing anything unusual. Then Daisy followed the father and son to a villa. She took photos with her phone to note the address, and began searching on her own. First, Daisy pulled out old photos with her son. She cut her hair short to look like she did in the pictures. Later, she found out the boys' school was hiring teachers. She thought it was the perfect chance to get closer to the boy, so she immediately applied for an interview. Luckily, Daisy was best at teaching music. Before long, she got the job, and became the boy's teacher. Soon Daisy learned the boy had grown up without a mother, living only with his father. Daisy's attentive care made the boy feel warmth he had never felt before. But this did not make his father happy. He came to school to meet Daisy. He said his son usually never talked about teachers, but lately kept mentioning her name. Seeing his concern, Daisy quickly tried to change the subject.
No, I knew I'd take music workshops.
Daisy said the boy should focus on developing his musical gift, but his father felt it was a waste of study time, so he rejected Daisy's suggestion. But Daisy would not give up so easily. That night she went straight to the boy's house. Before the father could object, Daisy walked inside. The man suddenly felt uneasy. He looked around to make sure no one was nearby. By then Daisy had entered the boy's bedroom. She saw her son playing piano with focus, so the father did not press further. But Daisy noticed something. There were no childhood photos of the boy, and even the boy did not know why. He guessed it might be because his dad's job kept moving them, and the photos got lost. But Daisy thought differently. She believed it was not that simple. Then Daisy walked into the bathroom. Maybe she could find something new there. But when she picked up the boy's toothbrush, she hesitated. She had planned to use it for a DNA test, but worried it would ruin the piece they had now. While she wavered, the man came in. He handed Daisy cash, saying the lesson was over, and told her never to come uninvited again. Daisy said nothing. She picked up her things and left the house. The next day at school, Daisy met the boy. She wanted him to talk to his dad, but the boy said he would never come back to school because his dad was moving again.